on. Hey, business storytellers, how's it going? I'm your host and author of Content Performance Culture. Another live stream here on LinkedIn, ctrap.online/LinkedIn. I guess you don't have to hear that if you're listening on the live stream, but if you're listening on the replay, certainly that's helpful to subscribe there and follow me there. On the live stream, you're seeing me wearing a Yankees hat. Yes, I am excited that baseball is back. Don't bother me with these stupid cutout fans and the virtual fans, but it's great to see, it's great to watch. It's really been a lot of fun, a distraction from the coronavirus pandemic, and it seems like we've all been home for a long time. The show, as always, is produced by Switcher Studio. If you go to Switcher Studio and sign up, Trap, my last name, TRAPPE, gives you, I think it's 10% off for the rest of the year. So don't wait on that. Today's show, however, we're going to talk about Facebook groups. I have a love and hate relationship with them. I have currently unsubscribed. I've left about all my groups. Everybody is talking about politics, even in the groups that are not about politics. And it's just too much. But there is an advantage for publishers, for marketers to, of course, create a Facebook group. And if you can get it to work, it certainly seems like one strategy to follow. So I invited on an expert on the topic, Eddie Garrison. He's been doing Facebook Live, Facebook groups for a long time. Eddie, how's it going?
I am doing great. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Absolutely. And I think we actually connected on Twitter when I was posting a rant about Facebook groups or something.
Yes.
And right, yeah, that's how the best conversations started. As long as you can keep them civil.
Yes.
And that has been a problem in Facebook groups, quite frankly, right? I mean, people don't know how to talk. People don't know how to know when to shut up, quite frankly. And it becomes like a cesspool of crap, in my opinion. So,
yes.
So what's your opinion on that? Is it just me dreaming, or you seem like you're agreeing already?
No, and I do agree, actually. Yeah. So the biggest thing that I don't like about Facebook groups is to what you are saying, where people just get in there and they just go nuts on insert topic here that has absolutely nothing to do with any of the content or the focus of the Facebook group. And I think the bigger the group gets, the less it gets policed and the more of an issue that it becomes. So I've been moderators of groups that have, close to 1 million people in them, 500, 600, 700,000 members, and it just gets beyond control. And once a group gets that big and the admins or the moderators have allowed it to become what it is, that's like you, when I'm just like, leave. So without promoting my own brand or without tooting my own horn, I have a Facebook group of digital marketers and, small business owners, digital media creators that I just crossed over 600 members, which I like, but also all of them are very engaged. I've got about an 81% engagement rate with my Facebook group members. And I lay the law down from the second that they come into the group that this is not accepted. This will not be tolerated. This is not accepted. And if they do, I boot them. Gone. See ya. I don't need that in there.
Goodbye. I boot him. There you go. That's a good rule. But how do you? So first of all, I mean, there is an advantage for brands to have a Facebook group, right?
Yes.
But how do you start it? How do you build it? I know you're going to start at zero, like everything else on digital. How do you get people to even join? And then also, how do you put that in your priorities? I mean, does it go ahead of doing something else, or what's your strategy on that?
It doesn't. I don't rank like hierarchy of my daily tasks that I do. I do have a content calendar for everything that I do, including my own brand. So I own a digital media marketing company. So obviously I'm a social media manager for a lot of businesses on social media, right? So I create a content calendar for them. I also create a content calendar for my own brands. So I have 2 brands. I have my digital media agency, which is called Clover Media, And then I have my online kind of teaching academy, which is called the Digital Media Creator Academy. Both of those have content calendars that keeps me on track. So on Mondays, I do this. On Tuesdays, I do this. On Wednesdays, I do this. I also break it down even further into my Facebook group where I have a Marketing Monday, I have a Tech Tuesday, I have a Wisdom Wednesday. So every single day has a theme. I hate to use air quotes, but it has a theme to it. So everybody in my group knows on Monday they're going to be able to market their services, because I don't allow people just to come in and go, hey, I'm Bob Smith and I do video production. Come check out my website. I do not allow that. I don't want my group to be flooded with nothing but spam and self-promotion. So I have certain days for that. So I think if you start from zero, like I did, like we were just talking about, everyone starts from there, and you bring in the right people that are going to help advance the group, but you also put that structure in place, I think that's where Facebook groups can be very beneficial for any brand, no matter the industry.
Of course, the details, the devil is in the details, right?
Always.
Something like that. And I'll give you an example without naming any names or anything. There's groups that I'm in, or I used to be, and I'm literally in like one group right now because I just wanted to go on vacation from all the crap. And there's always like one question people keep asking. Like I was in a Netflix group. What should I watch on Netflix? Like, what should I watch on Netflix? I like believe it or not, even though I like the Yankees, I like the Washington football team, I guess is what they're called now.
Yeah.
We did do a show on that, guys, how to rebrand quickly with Nick Westergaard and Leanne Edens. Take a look on that on the podcast channel. There was no video, but we talked about that topic. And in the Redskins group, all they talked about ever was the same stuff. Like, who's your favorite player? Who's your whatever? I'm like, why do we need to have these posts? Yep. And then some digital marketing groups, they talk about how do you do this? How do you do that? It's like basic questions. So then one time in the digital marketing group, I posted the podcast link to an article that answered the question where there was like 25 posts. And it was promptly deleted because it was self-promotion, whatever. It was not. I don't make any money.
Yeah.
It wasn't, like, for real. It would be self-promotion if I would say, buy my book, to learn about it. But I literally gave you an article link so you can stop asking the same stupid question over and over. So you tell me, you're a Facebook group admin. How is that, setting up an environment where people share information?
Again, I think it all boils down to how you initially create the group and the expectations that you have, not only of the group, but of the members coming into the group. So to join my Facebook group, you have to answer all those questions before you even get in. So all the frequently asked questions like, how do I do this? How do I do that? If you can't answer those, I'm not letting you into the group. And everyone's like, wow, why are you doing it like that? Because I don't want that issue. I don't want that same post 25 times a week clouding up the knowledge and the lessons and everything that everybody is posting in there that's valuable and beneficial to everyone else. I don't need somebody to come in there and go, how do I get more subscribers on YouTube? Okay, I really don't want that. You know how to do it? Post consistent content. That's good. There you go. That's the answer to the question. I don't need to see that 25 times in a week. So I literally set it up to where you have to answer these questions, and I review every single member that comes in, and I read those questions. If you don't answer them correctly, you're not going to be a member of my group.
And how does that work? I mean, are people open to answering them, or how do they feel about when you have that kind of model in place?
No, I have yet to have any real member, not some spam bot or just some auto-generated account, that's ever said one thing to me about having to answer those 5 questions that I post. And honestly, I think people appreciate it because we're kind of weeding out those 25 post a day questions about, oh, how do I start a Facebook page? Oh, how do I get more followers on Instagram? There's no magic formula to doing it, right? So I don't want that in my group. And I think the members of my group actually appreciate that kind of for lack of a better term, filtering process to where it's just digital media professionals. It's just small business owners. It's the people that want to add value and learn from the group. And that's really what I want it to be about.
And do you approve posts before they go up, or is it free fall?
No, I don't approve the post. I did in the beginning, and it just became too much of a task where it was actually taking time away from what I needed to be doing. And now at this point, all the members that come in are pretty much self-policing. So I trust every single member of my Facebook group. And I do have a couple of moderators. And if I need to task that out to the moderators, I'm like, hey, Jim, hey, Tom, can you check this post out? Can you look at this? And they're good about that. So my group has been kind of self-policing, knock wood that it's always going to stay like that. So yeah, I mean, I've really not had an issue with that.
And very interesting. That's very nice to hear. And what's interesting about these silly questions when people ask, "How do I build my YouTube?" You're right. It is actually like a pretty simple answer. But once
Yep.
you dive deeper, it's a very complicated implementation, right?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Because I mean, creating good content, that's very subjective. It depends
Oh,
on.
very subjective, because what I consider good content, other people may not, and what other people think is good, I'm like, wow, really? So
Right, and also depends on the timing sometimes.
yeah.
So how did you promote your Facebook group? How did you get it to 600 members when you first got started?
So I am a big Twitter person. So Twitter, I love just because of the simple fact that it's very, very fast paced. And I'm a participant in a lot of Twitter chats. So a lot of times, right in the beginning when I started my group, I was like, hey, did you know that I have this Facebook group? And I would post about that, no joke, 5 to 10 times a day on Twitter. And everyone's like, really, that much? But what you have to realize about Twitter is the life expectancy of a piece of content is less than 10 minutes. And the average person on Twitter follows over 1,000 accounts. So just think, if everybody that you followed posted at the exact same time, you're not going to scroll through 1,000 tweets to read every single one of them every 10 minutes. So I post at very strategic times, like 9:05 a.m., 11:05 a.m., and I do really weird times because everybody's posting at noon. So I'll post at 11:57 or 12:03, some really obscure time to where they're going on because they know that people are going to post at noon. But I want mine to be at the top of the feed. So when they log in and they check at noon, by the time they log in, it's 12:01. A lot of those pieces of content have already filtered down. Mine at 12:03 is going to be at the top. So I try to make it kind of friendly and open, like, hey, did you know I have a Facebook group that's centered around boom, 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 enter the topics. You can join here, with maybe like a meme or a GIF or something that just is eye-catching. And in the beginning, it actually didn't catch hold very quickly. I floated between 200 and 400 members for like 6 or 7 months. And then in the past 3 months, I've gained 300 members. So the bell curve was like really steep for my Facebook group.
But it is a numbers game, right? So the
Yeah.
more people you have in there, yes, the more it can drive business results for you and you're top
Yep.
of mind, but you also will deal with more crap, right? Because
Yes.
once you have, I mean, you probably noticed that already, I would assume, or no?
I have blocked and banned people. I would say I'm at about 50 blocked and banned people,
Hmm.
because you can't, I mean, regardless of how hard you try to filter out the people that you don't want in there, they're going to get there. Right. I mean, they're going to know how to play the game, and they're going to get in there to do a hack and like self promote. And yeah, I mean, you're going to have to deal with that. It doesn't matter what platform you're on. If you have and my group is private, right? You can't even search it. So if you
Yeah.
don't get invited, or you just stumble upon it because somebody else, that's the only way that you can get in there. So you can't search my group, and because that's the way I wanted it. I kind of wanted to be filtered, and I was very selective about the kinds of people. And I know that sounds really bad. I'm not saying it like that. I'm not trying to do like race, color, and all that. I'm not. I mean, I wanted to very select people like digital marketers, small business owners, video creators. But yeah, I mean, you're going to have to deal with that. And just in the beginning, you need to know that you just need to have steps and processes in place to go, okay, when this happens, you just have to ban them and block them. And it's show business, not show friends.
Show business, not show friends. Huh. Do you want to share the link to the group on here, or is it, or are we not at
Yeah,
that
without, yeah,
level of?
yeah, no problem. Yep. It's just, facebook.com/groups/the DMCA. So that's dog, man, cat, animal, DMCA. And it just stands for Digital Media Creator Academy.
Digital media, that's one of your companies.
Correct. Yes.
Very, very cool. Why do you think some people just can't figure out how to be nice on social media? And I get it. Like I get it. People have different trigger words and
Yeah.
and sometimes so for example, my whole leaving group thing started when I was in groups and everything was politicized. And then the worst, and I get it. I'm a writer. Some of these people are not writers. I find it hard to believe that writers pick the wrong words. I find it easier to believe that real people pick the wrong words sometimes.
Yeah.
And I also understand we all have different trigger words, but they were always like things, they were politicized and they were like, oh no, we're not politicizing it because we're saying this one other thing in the same sentence. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, it's so dumb. And then people just pick on stupid stuff. I'll give you an example. One time I posted something and I said, here, this is a travel group, right? Last year I traveled a lot, this year not so much, of course, like everybody else.
Right.
And I said, oh, Hilton gave me these two options. One was to get the money back, or one was a certificate. That's all I said.
Right.
And people were just being like unbelievable. Like a bunch of people went, so what did you want them to do? Like I literally just shared it, right? I don't like, to be totally fair, I could have said, what do you think is the better option?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I probably could have said that. But at the end of the day, if you've never ever had that offer, which was a new offer because of COVID,
Right.
like there should be value. Like why do I need all these people jumping on me? And then I finally like turned it off. And you know what somebody did? They took a screenshot of my post and started another post and says, well,
Yeah.
if anybody else wants to keep talking about it here, you can. I was like where's the value? Like yes, I could have added a sentence, but I still shared something that I saw happening, whether you
Yeah.
made the connection yourself. But see what I mean? Why are people just, I mean, rude
I
and
I
yeah, why do they behave
equate
like that?
I equate it to I don't know how old you are. I'm 43, so I remember the term telephone tough guys, to where everybody is a bully on the phone, but if you were face to face, they wouldn't say the words. I think social media, for all the good and all the connections that it actually did for the world, it's a 24/7 365 soapbox for you to say whatever the heck you want with no repercussions, and people know it. And that's an issue, and I get it, and I see it all the time. I have, no joke, I just actually looked over to the side on my phone, and I have 1,800 people blocked on my Twitter account. Just because they've either said something negative about something. And it's not like, oh, my feelings are hurt, they didn't like a post I did. No, because they either swore at me, which I do not like. And I don't swear on social media. They do it off camera, but I'm not one of these guys that has to say like the dropping F bombs just to make a point. I feel if you have to swear, your point isn't valid enough, and you had to do that to bring some kind of validation to it. But I also believe that on social media, like I said, it's just a 24/7 platform for there is no repercussions, there's no guidelines, and people, for whatever reason, get off on it, for lack of a better term, than trying to just demean somebody else, which I do not agree with.
Well, but there can be repercussions, right? Because depending who you connected with, who knows? Maybe they're your next client, or maybe they're your
Yes.
next whomever. Except there's so many people now who use what some call burner accounts, right? And that's a problem. Um, so I live in Iowa, and the Iowa Hawkeyes recently went through a big brouhaha about racial injustice and
Yep.
whatever. And I don't mean brouhaha is probably kind of, I don't want to make light of it at all, quite frankly. But one reporter kept taking all kinds of crap. So it even went to this level. On Twitter, he posted a question. So the head coach's son is also the offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
People believe he will be the next head coach. And and so he asked the athletic director, how is this looking for his future? What's going to happen? And so one person jumped on there and goes, why would you ask this question? It's so out of line. And I know we're getting off topic a little bit here for
No, that's
Facebook
fine.
groups, but I jumped in and I said, that's a totally relevant question. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know the answer. Plus, the video has like 10,000 views already. Like obviously other people want to see it. So why do we have to sacrifice what what you don't want to hear, or you're trying to bully this reporter? It's rude. And there was a total burner account, and then some of the accounts were like Kirk's AirPods, and Kirk Ferentz, of course, the coach. And I don't know if I wrote this back or if I just wanted to, but I wanted to write back, why don't you go stick your AirPods where they belong and stop
Right.
telling me what I want to consume for content. So is that one advantage on Facebook, because you theoretically have to use your real name and you can't make an account that's called Kirk's AirPods?
I think theoretically, yes. Obviously, there's ways around that. Yeah, I mean, you have to use a real name, but I mean, you can register your real name, but then I can go change my name once I create the account and verify the email address. I can go change my name to whatever I want it to be. I mean, I could literally change it, and I just see it up here in the left-hand corner. It says live program feed. I could change my name to live program feed, and Facebook is not going to tell me that I can't, because I've already verified my email address, regardless if it's a burner account or not. As long as you verify that email address, you can name your account whatever you want after you register it as Tom Smith. I can go back in and change it to whatever I want. So there's always going to be people that get around that. And unfortunately, there is little you can do about it unless you're just trying to police it yourself. And I mean, like I said, it's 24/7. We all have to sleep. We all have to work. What you can try to do is just, I hate even to say it like this because it's not a good business model, but just hope for the best when you start these Facebook groups. But I think that's the brilliance of it, being able to make it a private group and being able to select who you bring in. And again, I don't want to get back to, making it about race, color, creed, because that's not what I'm talking about when I mean selective. I mean, if you're going to have a group that's based on tacos, then you probably don't want people that are in there for looking for spaghetti. Something as trivial as that. I get it, but people are going to come in there and bash you no matter what. You could be Taco Tuesdays. That could be your Facebook group, and people are going to come in there and bash you about Taco Tuesdays. So if you make it a private group and you do those questions in advance and you do not let anybody in until they answer those questions, you can kind of self-police it a little bit better.
And that's one thing I think people need to remember as well. Once you have a good audience, not everybody will love you. Somebody
No.
will bash you. And I actually, a few years ago, I did the mean tweets video myself. I read all the mean tweets that people sent to me. One thing I just thought about, Eddie, you said this earlier, 1,800 blocked Twitter accounts. And I do have a fair share myself as well. But I try not to block people anymore. And here's the reason why. And I'll tell you what I do. Basically, I want the audience, right? And I get it. Most people don't actually interact with me. Most people just read my stuff. They listen to the podcast, whatever. So now when people are being, who they are, and on the negative side, I mute them. And I definitely don't follow them. But what happens is when I mute them is they can still read my stuff. But if they reply to me, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Unless I really dive deep. Have you tried that before? Has that worked, or what do you think?
Yeah, and honestly, I probably misspoke when I said blocked, because now that I'm looking at it, it actually says muted and blocked. So I have 1,800 muted and blocked, and I don't know the ratio to what they are. Because like you, I do know how the algorithm works, and I want people to see that content, even if they hate it and they retweet it. That just means I get seen in front of more people, right? Because that's just how algorithms work, and that's what they're weighted on, right? The more that you get shared, the more people are going to see your content, regardless if they like it or don't. I'm still looking for the eyeballs, right? Because again, it's show business, not show friends. And maybe somebody doesn't like what I tweet because it's self-promotion or something, but one of their friends that retweeted or retweeted or retweeted, that's hard to say 3 times fast, will go, hey, wow, this guy does graphic design. I need graphic design. Or a buddy of mine owns a business that needs a new graphic for his social media cover art. Hey, I just saw this guy posting about it because it was a retweet of a retweet of a retweet. And the more people see it, the better chances I have to bring in revenue for myself or my business.
I think there was not to get into politics, but there is marketing, right, for public agencies. And I was actually talking to an Iowa State trooper who has a fantastic Twitter account. And even when you think about, I think President Trump was actually maybe sued or something for it. When you're a public agency, I actually think there's a case to be made that they cannot block anybody
Mm,
because people have the right to see their content, right? So the state trooper, if he's sharing public information and everything he shares is public, the end, right?
yep.
So why does he have the right to block me? And I would argue that he doesn't. Now the state patrol is not, I don't think they're disagreeing with me on this at all, but it's
Right.
just interesting because like, guys like you and me and really any brand, why would you block people? You want them to see it, even if you don't like them, and certainly do that. Um, how long will it take to get your Facebook group to work? And the other question is, what's the definition of work? Like,
Right.
what does success
Yeah.
look like?
That was actually going to be my rebuttal to that. Like, what do you consider working, right? So for me, I look at my Facebook group in a couple of different ways. One, and first and foremost, I want it to be valuable to every member that is a part of my Facebook group. So if I post something, I want them to be able to look at it and go, wow, this is valuable because now I know how to do this in Instagram stories. That to me is number one for my Facebook group. I'm not looking to generate revenue out of my Facebook group, although I do. That's a subsidiary to my initial basic, just kind of underlying why I wanted to start the Facebook group, because I wanted to teach people and I wanted to educate people. Now, number two, yes, comes from that is revenue. So if I show somebody something that I was able to create in Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator or Premiere or whatever I do, and they're like, wow, that looks really cool. How can I get something like that, Eddie? Oh, by the way, I have these templates that you can put on your live stream to make them look more professional, and they're $10 a piece. And they go on there and they start buying $10 graphics. So the education portion of my Facebook group is number one, always will be. A subsidiary to that, easy for me to say, is it can help me generate revenue. So working is just kind of like identifying the I in ROI, right? Return on investment, right? So what is the investment? What is that return? Is it knowledge? Is it revenue? Is it growth? Is it brand awareness? So until you identify that, I don't think that you can actually identify what's working, because you could have 100 people in your group and it could be awesome and it can work because that's what you want it to be. Or you can have 10,000 and it's going to do the same thing. I just think that you need to have a plan in place and you need to have structure in your Facebook group in order to get to that ultimate what is working.
And for everyone watching on the live stream, I just want to make sure you notice this and give me a pat of the back. I think I typed it in correctly. Facebook, it's actually /groups
Yep,
/the DMCA.
correct.
And, let me tell you, it is so difficult to play producer, director, and host on the
It is.
same show, but Switcher Studio, they make it a lot easier. That's what we're using today. Trap the code will give you 10% off the rest of the year. So Facebook groups, it sounds like you are a fan. Join the group. Now, if you join the group, you have to answer some basic marketing questions, digital marketing questions. What are the questions? Can you run through them quick or no? Do you know on top of your head?
You know what? I've had them up there so long, I don't even know them off the top of my head. But they do
Okay.
have to do with actual digital and social media marketing. Like, how do I grow this? Or, how do you register that? So they're basic, but going back to one of your original points of the show was like, you got tired of seeing that same question 25 times a week. So that's what I did. All the groups that I was a member of, I saw all these questions, and those are the questions, and I just took the top 5 and I made them those questions to join my group.
Do you think so? Is there a lot of good discussion going on in the groups that you've seen in your group?
Yes, very much so. And what I like to say about my members as well, it's very civil. Even if they don't agree with each other, they always start a rebuttal like, "Hey, I'm glad that you think that. I don't. Here's why." So everybody in there is very civil and very professional, and I work hard to keep it that way.
Yeah, I see a lot of groups where I don't think anybody will change anybody's mind on anything. And
Yeah,
it's really just, you're throwing mud. How about going off on tangents? So I mean, we've done that a little bit here. And of course, it's a talk show. So it's
yeah,
a little bit different because the written word is structured differently, right? And
yes.
we go off on tangents and that's okay, I think, to an extent. But how about like if I'm posting something on, hey, how do I I found this new thing on Instagram and blah, 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 and here's what I'm doing. And somebody immediately jumps in and says, well, why do you care about Instagram? You can do that on TikTok, and here's how you do it on TikTok. Like maybe that's close enough, but how do you get around those kind of discussions that go just off the rails?
Right. So if I personally don't do it, I have a couple of great moderators and admins in my group that will jump in real quick and go, hey guys, great discussion. Let's keep this on topic. If you want to talk about TikTok, start another thread about TikTok. And our members are really good about, hey, sorry about that. Yep, I've seen this new update for Reels. Let's talk about that again. So honestly, like I said in the beginning, I've worked really, really hard to be able to self-police and bring in the kind of members that I want. And if somebody gets on a tangent, or if somebody, um, you know, says something derogatory to another member, I will quickly mute them in that group and go to them personally and go, hey, listen, Bill, Tom, Sally, whoever, that was inappropriate. I'm going to give you a one strike. That's it. I don't play. This is 100% free for you to be in. If you can't play by the rules, get out. You're gone. Like I said in the beginning, it's show business, not show friends.
Are you ever worried that Facebook group, you're building your kingdom, part of your kingdom a little bit, right, on rented land?
Yes.
Uh, but I know you have your web properties and other things, but how about, you're building this huge group and now Facebook changes the rules down the road. Are you ever worried about that? And what do you think about that?
I worry about that all the time. And I actually would even regress back to a discussion forum that I actually already have built on my website. And I've actually let all my members know about it. I'm like, listen, if Facebook ever does something to our group or changes the rules that we can't do this or we can't do that, I need everybody to go over and register on this discussion forum on my website, which isn't even public. You have to have a login to get to that page. Every single one of my members is also a member of my discussion forum on my website, which isn't even live and has no content on it. But I can just flip the switch, and everything that we have in the Facebook group would just transfer over to my discussion forum on my own purchased website.
So that's a good strategy to think about right there. How do you get people to move over and stay connected?
Yeah.
The future of Facebook groups, what's your opinion?
I'm glad you asked that, because I never get this question, and I always want it every live stream that I'm on, because people are like, oh, look at Facebook, how they're changing and changing. They're going to go away at some point. I don't think Facebook is going to go away in, say, the next 10 to 15 years. I just think it's going to evolve more into private groups. So now, like if you're on your mobile phone, or, you're on a desktop, you can go over there and you can look at your news feed or whatever, or you can just go look at all your groups and you see all the posts in your groups. I honestly believe that Facebook is going to trend more towards groups, to where people aren't going to really publicly post much of anything on Facebook. They're just going to do it in their own groups. So for lack of a better term, I think people are going to use Facebook, more specifically Facebook groups, to create their own kind of social media property, to where they're going to have trap.facebook.com, right? So that's what I think it's inevitably going to evolve to, a more private social media platform for each individual person or each individual brand.
Of course, the word of caution, even when we think it's private, it's not as private as we think it is.
Nothing's private.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Great. Eddie, thanks for joining us. If you have not connected with Eddie on Twitter, Eddie Garrison, EDDIEGARRISON.
Yes.
And I know if you're watching on the live stream and you have not connected with him, you certainly won't, because the name was up like the whole show. Facebook.com/groups/the DMCA. Check it out. And if you're choosing to participate, don't be a jerk. Bring your authentic self, unless
you're gone.
A jerk. You're out of here. Eddie, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate you sharing your insights.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
And thanks everyone for you bet. Thank you, and thanks everyone for listening.